Okay, I guess we'll just jump right in. Obviously, I made some more The Last of Us stuff. This time I was a little bit more focused on Abby's stuff, a little bit Owen stuff, and of course, a plethora of Ellie's stuff, some of which I've already made, and some of which I just sort of augmented, like the bottle silencer. I took off the cola thing because that was just looking like crap, but lots of new stuff. But yeah, I kind of just got the bug again, and all of a sudden I was just like, I think I can make Abby's rifle now. And I had that Model E MP5 that I had made into the Blastech E57, which I apologize for. But I still had the MP5 high cycle, so I could use that for the Quasi SMG, which is actually an MPX, but MP5 is close enough for me. Lots of other little things, mostly just Amazon finds. I came across a whole bunch of really close things and, pulled the trigger and said, okay, well, I guess I'll make some more The Last of Us stuff. We got Abby's backpack over here. Had the right color, straps and stuff. I had to modify it a little bit just to get it to look right. It's a pretty good backpack, and I actually did the straps the way they are in the game. The flashlight, this is a little bit bigger than the Abby flashlight that I had before. The last one was 3 AAAs. This is actually 2 C cells, which is that nice happy medium between the really small one and the double Ds. And then, of course, I got the LED emitter for it, because it's like 21st century and shit now. Baseball bat. This is just a plastic baseball bat on Amazon, like $10. Put some scissors on it, wrap some string around it, painted, hockey tape, badang. Ellie's shotgun that she finds in the bank. That was, again, one of those shell-ejecting soft bullet dart launchers. It just so happened that it was more or less in the shape of 870. Yes, I did another Ellie Switchblade. This one's actually a 9-inch Frank Beltrame. Upon further analysis and consideration, I think the one in the show is actually a 9-inch as opposed to an 11-inch that I thought earlier, just because it looks a little bit more appropriate to be a 9-inch. That's about it. Bottle silencer, got the little flap thing, which is more accurate. Abby's pistol with the compensator on there and the little grip thing. And of course, Abby's hammer. This is a gigantic hammerhead. Hold on, let me show you real quick. Ridiculous. The scanner. The only thing I did to the scanner was I put the tag on it, so it's got the correct tag on it. Not too big, but it's something I did, so I figured I'd include it with everything. The straps were strangely a little bit of a brain flex, just to figure out how it's supposed to work, what's going on with it, but hey, that's kind of a cool thing. I don't know what that's supposed to mean. It's a cool thing. It's just idiota. But yeah, this is the silenced SMG, and again, it's a modified MP5. The magazine is a little bit more the MPX style. This was a Sintra custom job, and of course the big fat silencer on the front of it. Put a pad on the back here, just again, because the MPX is a big, huge, goofy looking pad on the back of it. Abby's gun is a tactical AK that I just put on new furniture. This is all Sintra, by the way. Most of it is Sintra. Again, we'll get to it in time. I think that will serve as a pretty good overview. Oh, I made some more arrows. Actually, those are shorter, so they'd be crossbow bolts. But yeah, that's our overview. Transition. Okay, we'll start real quick with the revisit and stuff. This is the same pistol that I had. It's a little spring airsoft pistol, and I found the. Excuse me, pardon me, thank you. I got a 4-pack of these aluminum bottles on eBay for like $5. And it's a little bit thinner than the one in the game. And again, this part I got kind of carried away with it. It's only like that big on the game. Blue paint and the little cap thing, which is a little bit more accurate because of this thing, which is weird because it implies that this is a squeeze bottle. And this is very much not a squeeze bottle because it's aluminum. I went with aluminum because on your last shot it falls off. But it sounds like either glass or aluminum. And I didn't want to put a glass bottle on here, so I went with the aluminum, because that's what it sounds like. It sounds like an aluminum bottle falling off, so that's why I went with that. The end. I already said that I put the label on this one, so we'll move that off to the side. So again, we found a Frank Beltrame 9-inch, and same technique. I just cut around the sides and use the micro engraver to go around the edges and stuff, and this one turned out just as good as the other ones did, except for the fact that it's a Frank Beltrame. Frank B. Italy. I will retract what I said before of it being an 11. I'm pretty sure it's a 9-inch. And this goes back right there. Stay. Okay, so here's Ellie's shotgun. Again, it was an Amazon find. I don't remember how much I paid for it, but I really like these the shell ejecting ones because they're cool. They function the way a shotgun would, as in like you put the shells in here and you rack it, and then it fires a dart. I have no idea where that went. And then, of course, it'll kick it out. I like this one because it was a little bit more 870 shaped as opposed to all the other ones were M3 shaped, except for the ejection port there. It came with a stock that I chopped off and, again, filled it in, painted. It came with a little bit extra hardware, like a Picatinny rail and stuff, so once I filed all that off, there's a big hole in it, so I put on a little patch of styrene with some rivets on it to make it look like it was actually patched up like you would in post-apocalypse. Oh, you can see the insides there. Yeah, I didn't quite get to the paint in there because those are the moving parts and I didn't really want to paint over them. But it's easily solved just by closing that. Brown paint, black paint, a little bit of rub and buff, and bam, there you go. It's Ellie's shotgun. Just knocked the camera out of alignment. That's awesome. So these two were actually pretty to make. These two were actually pretty easy to make. The baseball bat was pre-made. It's just one of those kids' toys that's like $10 on Amazon. And it comes in a couple of different colors. This one was blue. I painted it black for a base. Made some scissors out of 2mm EVA foam, weathered them, glued them in place, and strangely, when I cut into it, it's hissed, so like it was pressurized, which was kind of weird. In the game, they're held in by some string, cord, rope, whatever. The handles are actually, they're broken off. So, and you can actually see that in a couple of places too, which is pretty cool. So I did that also. The string is just some, braided string that I weathered and wrapped around. Again, just hockey tape. What was cool about the toy is that it actually comes with like a faux wood grain on it. So painting it was actually really fun because it has all of that fake wood grain and stuff, so that when you weather it, you give it washes and stuff, it responds really well to that, especially with the black base coat and stuff, and then a couple of different browns, blah, blah, blah. Looks good. Yeah, that right there, that actually looks really, really good. The hammer is just, I think it's 12mm of Sintra, 2 sheets of 6mm for a core, for a total of 12mm, 10mm EVA on either side, and then this is a little sheet of 2mm, and then a thumbtack on either side. I think this is just a brace to hold the handle on, or to reinforce the handle and stuff. Some acrylic paint, no rub and buff. This is actually silver paint here, but it's nice and light, but again, that would still mess you up because of the hardness. All con friendly, of course. Yeah, I like the hammer just because it's a little bit more Abby iconic. I don't know about anybody else, but when I think of melee weapons Abby, I think of the hammer just because of that one scene, or at least they fit really well together. So here's Abby's pistol. It's called the military pistol in the game. This is a Matrix Predator airsoft. It's CO2 powered. It came with like 3 magazines and stuff. It was half price, so I figured I'd grab it because it looked pretty close. It's Glockish with some other non-Glock elements to it, just like Abby's pistol in the game. A couple of things that I did to this is it came all black. The green was a real specific kind of not quite OD green. Forgot what the actual color is that I got. I can just look. Okay, I looked it up. It's a Satin Hunt Club green. Real specific. It was pretty close, but it wasn't quite on, so I gave it another wash of silver, and I think that pretty much brought it to the color that it needed to be. There were some rails and stuff. The trigger guard was rounded, so I put on some steel stick, just to sort of even it out and stuff, I actually forgot to go back and put in the actual rails and stuff, because the one it came with was Picatinny, and the one in the game just has the rails. But that's okay. You can actually find like grip sleeves that are really close to the game, but I had already put on the grooves already with the steel stick when I was doing the other stuff, so I didn't really need to go and get it since I already had the heat shrink rubber. Plus I really wanted to do the heat shrink rubber thing on it. I could possibly go back and put in some of the detail on the sleeve, but I probably won't. The compensator is some, what is it? It was acrylic tube that I crammed into another tube and then surrounded with resin so I could get the shape, and then I filed the hexagonal shape, drilled the holes and stuff. It's not pretty, but it does the job. I had, 2 holes on the top, which when I went back to look at it, I realized that they actually made the cutout thing. So basically just held it to the oscillating spindle sander and made 2 big giant grooves on the top. Again, not the most pretty. And since this is a non-reciprocating CO2 pistol, I just glued it onto the front here with 2-part epoxy, and this isn't going anywhere. Detail-wise, again, this was probably as close as you're going to find to the Abbey version and stuff. Mostly Glock-ish. The thing that really sells it, in my opinion, would be if the grooves here were angled. Hers are angled, and that really kind of sets it apart. But for the most part, I think, again, I think I got it pretty close. And it sounds cool. It's got this sort of kind of echoey sound to it. I don't know if you can hear it. Sounds good to me. Ellie's silenced SMG that you get in Santa Barbara. So like I said, this is the Tokyo Marui MP5 heist cycle that I had, and I just got rid of all that other goofy hardware and stuff like that. And yeah, the gun itself was actually in pretty bad shape, so there's a couple of things that I had to do. I had to change out the upper receiver, add the stock here. There is a add-on rail on the top I got from evic.com. Same thing with the big ass silencer and the magazine here. That's what the gun looks like in the game. The one in the game is a SIG MPX. This is an MP5. Some of the differences are that the MPX charging handle is on the side here, whereas this one still has the top one. By the way, I had to make a new one because I don't know what I did with the old one, but I had to get a new one and put this one on here. It uses an 8.4 volt battery, which is under the grip. The sights, I was actually pretty happy with the sights. The angled fronts on the side and stuff like that, and the semicircle front sight. They're as close as I think I was going to find. The grip itself is actually just like 3mm Sintra with a couple of pieces of 6mm and 5mm in there for spacing and whatnot. There's a little lanyard ring on some Picatinny rail here. I made this, and while it looks pretty good from this far, once you get into the dot patterns and stuff, is very inconsistent, and it just looks weird to my eyes. There's a back pad on here made out of EVA foam, just because the butt pad on the MPX is ridiculously huge and goofy looking. So the thing with the sling, come on now. So the thing with the sling that was kind of a fun find is that there's one shot where Ellie is holding it on the rattler, and it looks like it's beige with silver hardware. Every other shot, to include a couple of seconds later, you can tell that it's gray with black hardware, but for just that one shot, it looks like it's beige with silver hardware. And in my mind, I kind of took that to mean that it comes from expensive bag or something like that. I mean, they're in Santa Barbara for Pete's sake. So it's standard reason that there'd be some expensive bags and stuff, and you go and you salve and you find a sling on one of them, or a strap, and then you put it on your gun because, hey, it's nice, it works and stuff. For some reason, that really just sort of rang out to me as hey, that's really appropriate, it's fun, so let's go with that. And so that's what I did. I made a beige one to go along with it. I made the gray one also. Yeah, so this was I don't know if it was my first attempt at using a sewing machine. This one right here isn't too bad, with the little X pattern and stuff, literally the first time I'm using a sewing machine. This one, however, is all over the place and super wonky and not even, but I'm going to hold on to it as just sort of a memorial to my first attempt at using a sewing machine. In the game, it looks like the brackets here are metal. I just went with leather because it made sense, but the weird thing on this one is that you can't really tell how it's attached to the rear point. I went over the game pretty rigorously just to figure out how it's attached here, and you can tell pretty clearly that there is some sort of D-ring that it attaches to, but you can't really see how. So this one I found like an actual D-ring carabiner that I use, so it fits with the rest of the hardware theme. On this one I have a different D-ring carabiner, but there's also this weird little metal thing on it, and you can't really tell what it is, so yeah, it's just a little creative interpretation. Not really a whole lot to say. I mean, I went over it pretty thoroughly just to figure out what it was, and it looks like just a clip that goes across. I didn't have that, so this is my solution to that. The one on this side, in order to get it to be silver, since it was brass, I just covered it with solder. I mean, it still works. I didn't actually do anything to the internals and stuff. I didn't put a soundboard or anything, so pretty fast, and it's still only just using an 8.4 volt. But yeah, for some reason I just felt like it still needed to be an airsoft gun. Rest in peace, Blastech E57. You were ugly. Gurgle, gurgle. This is Abby's rucksack backpack. Again, it was just an Amazon find that was the right kind of green and the brown straps and stuff, and I modified it quite a bit just to make it look appropriate. The backpack shape wasn't quite the same as it is in the game, so again, you fiddle with it and stuff, and there's some upholstery foam and stuff stacked up so that it has the proper shape. This was actually like a really nice laptop backpack. It's just that I had to cut it up in order to make it look right. It came with straps on the side, but they weren't the leather stuff. There was a little bit more nylon. So I cut those off, and I left a little bit of the nubbin right there so I could glue on the leather to it, or in this case, the faux leather. And then it had these pockets on the side of it too, which I held on to. The original straps came all the way up and stuff, so I cut them off and then secured them down right here, put this little jump ring on it. And then these are pretty much the same. There was a little leather patch right here that I cut off. In the cosplay guide, Abby's got 2 straps on the side here. So again, I made 2 straps. Take this out. This is just some more arrows. I put them here because if I were to put them inside here, it would stick out. And then there's this thing that sort of ruins the illusion. So I put them on the side here. The straps are leather, and Abby's got this little D-ring thing for her flashlight, and it took me a while to find out what that was. And again, it's the Rumpelstiltskin thing, is that once you have a name for it, then it's easy to identify. And this was a sheet. What was that? Stay. God damn you, internet. All right, I just looked. These are called saddle clips. They're for repairing saddles and stuff and putting stuff on them. The rest is just leather that I glued together, stitched together, blah, blah, blah. One thing that I did, which was a little bit of a pain in the ass, was I actually stitched via leather stitching these to the bottom of the backpack, which there's a couple of layers that you got to go through, and putting your hand inside the backpack and then feeding the needle back and forth. That was a little bit of a feat. But yeah, Abby's got these leather straps on her backpack, and that's about it. So I made them. The original backpack doesn't have the bottom here. It's just all green. So this is just acrylic paint that from like this far away you can't even tell. This close you can, but this close you can't. Actually, I can't even tell. I'm looking through the viewfinder. But it's pretty close, and it sells, as a leather bottom, so acrylic paint for the win. One thing that was really bothering me was when I was looking at it, when I did most of the other modifications, was that it wasn't looking the same. And originally, like, this came all the way down here, and for some reason I couldn't figure out why it wasn't really selling as Abby's backpack. And then I kept looking, and I realized that, like, well, if I scooch this up a little bit and put in the leather patch here, come on now, why are you stop hurting me? It was missing the red leather patch here. And then once I put that on, then I was just like, oh, that's there you go. That's what was missing. So you don't cinch this all the way down, you let it ride up a little bit, and then put the patch there, and then once that was there, then it really kind of fell into place as Abby's backpack. To me, at least. Might not to you. All right, so this backpack was a really, really lucky find. It was like 90% of the way when it comes to Owen's backpack, which Abby later gets in the Santa Barbara scenes and stuff. And you can actually see it in the aquarium a couple of times, but we'll call it Owen's backpack. But yeah, it was really close. And I mean, it had everything down to the color matched carabiner right here, just sort of hanging off the edge. The molly weave and the cords and stuff like that. The only thing that's a little bit different was in the game, the molly weave actually goes all the way up. There's no Velcro. And on top of that, there was a little, like a water bottle pouch on the side here that I just cut off. But otherwise, this was pretty much as close as you're going to get, or at least from my perspective. I got the wolf patch and Owen's dog tag from a guy on Etsy named Obi of Inktree Creations. And after I ordered it, he messaged me and he was just like, hey, do you want the TLOU 1 version or the TLOU 2 version? I was just like, oh, you can actually do that, because the TLOU 1 version actually has a border on the sides, but in TLOU 2 it doesn't. So he's like, do you want the actual correct one? And I was like, hell yeah, I want the correct one. And we just started going back and forth with, like, you know, prop replication, that's a hard word to say. So he offered, like, okay, well, since you actually have an eye for that kind of stuff, I'll try to make it as accurate as possible. And oh boy, oh did he ever. Correct etching pattern and stuff. You can actually hold them side by side and you see, you know, etching in this spot over here, or there's a couple of scratches over here, blah, blah, blah. But he even went so far as to weather the chain and the jump ring here. A ridiculous amount of work for what amounts to, you know, just a couple of seconds of screen time, but man, did he really deliver. So thanks, Obi. You got this one right. The wolf patch. Come on now. Again, it's just a really high quality patch. Looks good. He actually put the Velcro on there for me. That's really all I can say. And it's just fortunate that there was a little bit of Velcro patch right here, because Owen actually has this on his backpack. Probably sewn in or whatever. It fits right there. And it's perfect. I really want to talk about the backpack more, but again, there's not really a whole lot to talk about because they got everything down. I mean, the handle here, it's also correct because it's got the grooves and stuff like that. The clips actually aren't the correct clips in the picture on Amazon. They are, but these are a little bit different. I don't really foresee me getting different ones and putting those on because probably not worth it. But yeah, this is really, really close. That's about all I can think to say about it. Okay, so finally we're getting to Abby's rifle, the semi-automatic rifle. This was originally a tactical AK that I got from Evic. It had a charging handle on both sides. It had the M4 stock, a handguard with the Picatinny rails and stuff like that. I got rid of pretty much all of that. In addition, I had to actually get a different lower receiver and dust cover here. So almost all of this has been swapped out for just, assembled parts, and the only thing that's pretty much original is the charging handle, gearbox, motor, and the magazine is actually the one that it came with. I just chopped it down, and now it's basically unusable as an airsoft magazine. That's okay. The scope and the scope mount actually go on the side, and this is fake aim point. It's probably a tenth of what a real aim point would be as far as price. But the one that the lower receiver that this came with actually didn't have the mounting hardware for it. It was just flat, so that's why I had to get like an aftermarket lower receiver so that I could actually have the mounting hardware for it. So there's not a whole lot that's original on this here. Even the flash hider, or in this case, it's just the barrel. I took the flash hider off, and this is actually like a pistol suppressor that just happened to fit size-wise with the rest of the look. This is just a cover for the bottom of a chair, so it doesn't scratch the floor. It looks the part, so that's what I used. All the hardware is Sintra. This is actually just 6mm Sintra that I glued on top of the original hand grip so that the hand grip itself would still fit onto it. It's just that there's a Sintra cover on top of that. And then I painted it with a khaki and then gave it a kiwi shoe polish paint job. It really sells as wood, or finished wood. So the stock is actually an AK-74 stock that I had, again, replaced. This part is Sintra. The grip was original that I just filed down. You'll notice that it's not like permanently attached. In the game, it's all one piece, but because of the fact that there's, a motor grip here and then the stock goes on this way, grip goes on this way, I couldn't really get it to be permanently attached and get them on. So my solution was just to make it slip on so that they're connected. It's just not permanently, because this has a real finicky gearbox that sometimes I gotta fiddle with, which includes taking everything off just to seat it right again. So, and I think this solution it works. It's not perfect, but I really like it. The scope mount was actually like this whole thing was up like that, and it was just entirely too big. And in even some of the reference pictures and stuff, you can tell that it's cut down, so there's only a little piece of it, which works perfectly for the aim point. For the sight, there was a couple of things that I wanted to get right, namely that like you can very clearly see that it's based off an aim point with the battery box. On the game version, you can see that the front cover is all broken off. There's a little O-ring on the back here, and then it's got this retaining cover for the caps, and this is just some heat shrink that I cut to shape and then hit it with the heat so that it kind of seals around it. You can still use it. It's just the fact that it's on there pretty tight now. The magazine is just a little stub of what the original one was. The original one was a full size. The one in the game is really small. It's like 10 rounds. So I just chopped it off and put a little thing on here, and then pretty much that's it. The one in the game is actually based off of a mullet Vepra, not an AK, which they're similar in real life, but there are small differences. All I was looking for was just to get the broad gestures and stuff and what looked appropriate. It just so happened that that tactical AK seemed to work pretty well with the front sight and the stock iron sight and stuff like that. Those were fairly distinct in the game, and those are the couple of things that I really wanted to get right. Same thing with the big barrel. I mean, in the game it almost looks like a shotgun barrel, so it needed to be nice and chunky. So I actually do have like a short airsoft magazine that's functional and stuff, and it still works as an airsoft rifle, but I very highly doubt that I'll ever see an airsoft match. Yeah, and I think that's pretty much all I can think of for Abby's rifle there. I think it looks the part. Feels pretty good just to hold it. The cocking handle does work on it, and if you hold it down for a second, you can get it to lock back a little bit. Ugh. Okay, I can't now, but sometimes I can. I'm actually glad that this whole The Last of Us obsession has been perpetual, because it gave me an opportunity to go back and make it. And now I have it, and I'm happy. All right, so that's pretty much everything. I am really not looking forward to going back and editing this because I rambled on so much. But I'll tell you, it's really fun just to make this stuff. It's just really satisfying. It's a good hobby. Thanks for watching. See yous.